Hello there. We've got another one
of Rain.
Yeah. This is a game that we've all played.
It's the second one, actually.
Yeah, it's the second Risk of Rain. We haven't done a game that we've all played in, like, a few moons.
Well,
but,
actually, the last one that we did, both of us had played, and Dalsson wasn't there.
That is true, so technically that could count. Yeah, that by all technicality counts. Dalsson wasn't here, so we couldn't have technically
counts. Go fuck yourselves.
Alright, alright. But yeah, let's actually talk about the video game. I think it's fun, and I like it.
Yeah, I think it's hella fun, and I played so much Risk of Rain 1 that I don't think I could ever look at Risk of Rain 1 again, even before Risk of Rain 2 came out, because I just have played so much of it that there would have been nothing for me to do at all.
The funny thing about Risk of Rain 1 for me was I hated it. And this one, by comparison, I like a lot. So
I think a lot of people are like that, too, because, like, Risk of Rain 1 had, like, these... You kind of had to game the game, but after you started to game it a little bit, it got funner, or more fun, for the kind of people who are like that, I guess.
Well, I don't know, because even... Okay, some of my problems with the original Risk of Rain was... I felt like there just wasn't enough chests on the map for everyone to get items.
Yeah,
And this one, I feel like the items are a lot more spread out.
Yeah,
and there's more of them.
I can agree with that 100%. Like, that's indisputable.
My problem with Risk of Rain 1 was I didn't like it in multiplayer. I thought it was fun in single player, but aside from that...
And that's actually exactly how I felt about it, too, is in multiplayer, it felt like there were so few chests that you were splitting up all of the items with everyone. And so what ended up kind of happening was whoever was faster or just got luckier happened to get everything, and then like the other person wouldn't have anything, and then if he died, then he would continue to get nothing, and then it just over time it would be like, why am I just not playing the single player? Whereas this game, I think it's a lot better at like balancing just the number of chests, and because you can move in 3 dimensions, you can just completely walk away from each other at the start and not really have to compete on individual chests as much.
Right. Yeah. So if you play Risk of Rain 1 with 2 people, you get that same thing, and it's for the same reason here, right? Like, you can move in any direction, and so 4 people can split loot evenly because they can go 4 different directions. And in Risk of Rain 1, 2 people could split the loot pretty evenly just by going in 2 opposite directions.
Yeah, but still, you would run into problems where just occasionally all of the chests would be on one side of the map, and then one person would just get screwed. Like
that generally tended to balance out in my experience. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like I think this game is such a huge improvement on the first one, and switching to like a 3D model just helped it a lot, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I want to point out how nicely all of the monsters translate. Like, if you did play Risk of Rain 1, you can look at every single monster and know exactly which one it is from the first game. And while the pixel art was beautiful, the, like, kind of transition they made is, like, just impressive, you know?
Yeah, like, it's essentially one of the, like, when I first booted it up, I was like, wow, this is just Risk of Rain in 3D, and 3D seems to add a lot to the game, and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that it's, for a lot of reasons, it's really easy to just look at this compared to the first and go, it's the same game, but in 3D, but, like,
it sure does add a whole nother dimension.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. But, like, just... Even like down to some of the numbers are exactly the same, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and some of the numbers aren't. So
it's like playing Alien Isolation and being like, wow, this sure is just like the Alien movies, except it's a video game.
Yeah,
it's like there's another whole thing that you can do in this. But yeah, it's like they changed one thing, but that one thing changed a lot, and it really very much changed sort of how the game feels and sort of how it's played, even though...
Now, they did change some things balance-wise, as far as I've heard, but...
Yeah, but it's... But I mean, it's minor in the scheme of just how the game is set up.
usually when you make like this big of a leap, changing some things, I gotta say, is kind of impressive because usually you would change everything. Yeah, they changed some numbers around, but aside from that, it's pretty much the same numbers as the previous game that was a totally different game.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? A couple of the characters are even like identical. The Huntress is like nearly identical. They just had to change it to work with, you know, the concept of 3D. Everyone can move and shoot at the same time. That was the Hunter's specialty. So instead, now she can run and shoot at the same time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's one of the things I remember being kind of annoyed by the first game with. I think that was my biggest hang-up.
You had to stop to shoot.
Yeah, you had to stop to shoot.
Yeah, but also everything had innate knockback. That was another thing. Like that I think is the biggest difference. This game you have to dodge everything and always be moving, and you did it in the last game, but in this game it's like, I don't know, it just works better, it flows better, it feels...
Yeah. Well, part of the problem with the last game as well was like, on some of the harder, like once you got to the harder difficulties, they would stack up on each other so bad that if you got anywhere near them, you would just get murder balled. Like, you would just instantly die when you got too close to them because there would just be too many, like, enemies stacked up on one spot. And this one, that doesn't happen as much just because there's
It does happen sometimes, though, and I'm pretty sure that's how we die in this particular run.
It does happen sometimes, but when it happens in this game, it's, like, fun. It's, like, fun to deal with.
Well, it's like... Even if you happen to get hit by something from behind or something, it's not like you just can't move in, you know, one half of the directions because there's just too many enemies in that direction. Whereas this, like you can't. There can be a lot of enemies, but a lot of times the way that I've gotten the farthest is by, you know, having equipment where I can run away and then heal up and then come back. It's just I don't know. I like it a lot better. So we should probably explain some of the mechanics of how the game actually works, though.
Oh yeah. But none of them seem very important right now.
Well,
the game's development.
I mean, some of them.
Well, no, I mean like the basic of how the game works, like.
The thing is the game is a roguelite. What you do is you run around and you sort of shoot at things, and then you die, and then you start over again. And you know, that's how
I think
you play the
roguelite
game.
is probably the wrong. I would say it's run based, not necessarily roguelite. You know
that sounds about right.
Yeah.
It's got a bunch of different items. You pick up these items, and they change how your character works, or you know, give you a new ability. They upgrade you in some way, shape, or form. Some are better than others,
and
but
most
all of them are
seem
essentially useful.
Really minor until you
stack them up.
Until you stack a whole bunch of them, and then all of those little minor things play off of each other. Like creating synergies is one of the big parts of this game.
Yeah. And you
pick
can
up whatever the fucking hope it synergizes.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you'll just pick up random stuff, and sometimes you'll be like, okay. Or, like, some of the chests give you a choice of 3 items, so you can, like, pick what you want. And then there's also 3D printers, which you can dump all of the same rarity into that chest so that you get...
and 3D printers are a
specific one.
Sorry, I kind of talked over you there. 3D printers are, like, a new thing to this game. I don't believe they had anything like it in the first Risk of Rain game.
I don't remember one way or the other, but I would not be surprised kind of either way if they existed before or not. It just gives you a little bit more control over how you want your build to be set up. And you can get things like one good example is one of the basic items that you can get is the red tinted glasses or whatever. I don't remember exactly what they're called. But what they do is they give you an additional crit chance. And then there's another item that, like, gives you healing on on crits. So you can kind of set your build up so that you're getting lots of crits and then also healing on those crits, which kind of makes you able to continue to fight for long periods of time. So there's, like lots of things like that. Whereas, you know, there might just be random, you know, disparate mechanics on each item, but you can get into situations where you're lens maker's glasses, those are the ones I was talking about.
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, you can get into situations where you find items that work really well together, and other times you'll just find random junk, and it's like, well, whatever. But you know.
Yeah, and one of the things that I feel like I'm more biased towards this game than I would be otherwise, but based on everyone else's reaction, it seems like I'm not. One of the things that I've been looking for a long time in like run-based games or roguelites that's really never hit that itch, and I think this game has come the closest to. I want a roguelite that's just Doom 1. It's just a good movement-based shooter roguelike, and I feel like this is the best one I've ever played.
It's pretty darn
Have you
close.
ever played Ziggurat?
Yes, I have. I played a lot of Ziggurat.
That game basically
like
is
it,
just
but...
that.
And I like it, but I don't know. It was there was something about it. Maybe it was because I felt like the wands didn't fire fast enough or something. But I did play a lot, and it's like it's probably like the second runner-up. There was another game that I played that came out recently that was sort of like that too.
There was one game that they advertised a long time ago at E3 where it was just like an infinite procedurally generated Quake map or something.
I know the one you're talking about, and
they had this ridiculous, like, over-exaggerated 80s commercial.
Well, whatever the case, this game is, like...
if you're looking for that, this game is a good one of those.
This game is very intense, and it has a lot of, like, that's probably the most interesting part of it. Oh, I was bouncing my attacks off of the bubble like an idiot. But yeah, there's, like, a lot of different kinds of enemies. I think that's the biggest hang-up I have. Granted, we should say that this game is in early access. This game had just come out in early access, but I wish there was a little bit more enemy variety, because there's like 6 bosses basically, right?
Yeah.
And you run into a lot of the same bosses. I mean, that's not like the biggest thing, but it would be nice if there was just more of them.
More bosses,
yeah. As of right now, I think the game is like not content. It's definitely not content complete because there's like a couple of more stages that they need to add. Like they intend to add an ending. In the same way that Risk of Rain 1 had it. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. See all those enemies stacked on top of each other. So it does happen, and that just looks really fun. Here's this Genji man like running away. This is a fun round.
And that's another thing. Well, Ziggurat had a couple of bosses, but I like the bosses in this game just a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're going to add more bosses and whatnot as time goes on. It is still early access.
Yeah. I also like how different the character classes are to each other.
Yeah.
Each one is basically a completely unique character. Like they don't, other than they shoot, usually their abilities don't overlap a lot, which is really nice.
Yeah, Risk of Rain 1 pretty much didn't have that either.
Yeah, but it's a little bit more impressive, I think, in a 3D space. Because in a 2D game, you can get, I think you get away with a lot of, like, just the kind of projectile you shoot seems more relevant in a 2D game versus in a 3D game. It's like a projectile's kind of just a projectile, but in this game they've done a good job of having like a dude with a sword, and a different guy has like machine gun, like auto pistols, and another guy has like little bouncy bombs, like the one that I was using on the engineer.
Yeah.
So I feel like they do a better job.
The engineer is like identical to the first Risk of Rain engineer.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, so I think that they've done a really good job with just making the enemies different enough. Or making the character classes different enough, because it's really easy to, you know, this guy has a slightly different kind of gun that fires slightly different, like slightly faster or something. Like, it's easy to fall into that trap, but I think this game is really smart about making the characters different.
Yeah. Another thing that I really like about this game is the codex. Most of them are not written, but a lot of them are, and like the item descriptions are really cute little short stories and stuff. Instead of just like, oh, this is a bear that this guy had. It like takes you to just some random unrelated story, or it's not completely unrelated, but it's not any of the characters here, you know?
Yeah.
And I think they copied a lot of them from Risk of Raid 1 directly, but some of them are being rewritten and stuff. And
well, that's just because a lot of the items are identical in the first place, but...
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So I really enjoy this game. This is the last level, or
This
the
is
last.
the last level that's made currently. I think there's supposed to be one more, but they haven't finished the final level or something.
Yeah, I don't know, because this one seems like the
The
last
other game
level.
was called Strafe. That's what it was. Sorry.
That was the word. That was the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, I played that one, and I didn't play it very much.
Yeah.
This level seems like the last level based on like how they have it set up, and it's very vertical. So I
Well,
wouldn't
did
be
you ever get
surprised
to
if
the
they
last
added
one?
more into the middle.
Well, did you ever get to the last level of Risk of Rain 1?
No.
that was, like-
Yeah, I have, but
Yeah, it was like the cargo ship and stuff. So if there's a story to this game, I don't see why some random, because the magma dungeon in Risk of Rain 1 was like level 4 or something.
yeah, but I don't think they line up 1-to-1 anyway.
No, not
I thought
exactly.
I thought the last level of Risk of Rain 1 was like the most fun I had in the game.
I love the last level of Risk of Rain 1. It's really great, but
Um,
neither here nor there.
Yeah, I don't know, just the way that the intensity of the like set design just makes it feel like this is the last level. But I don't know, like obviously I don't actually know, so but at this point I was just saying it feels like a final level, so I would be fine if they added more to the middle instead.
Yeah.
Um,
And the way it worked in Risk of Rain 1 was you could roll a couple of different maps at each stage, so maybe they'll even go and add
Well, that's the case here as well.
Really?
There are a few.
I remember it being the same every time, but
Well, I think the order can change, and the ones you actually get. The first one is the most obvious, because there's definitely two first maps
really?
in the game now.
Yeah.
There's the one that we did on this run, and there's also like a big field one.
yeah.
And then you don't always get the snow level, and you don't always get the desert one. I think
So
there's
you
like
get the horrible tree bastard one.
yeah, there's that tree one that I hate. Yeah, so there are a few, and it is kind of random. And once you beat all of the levels, it loops over.
Right.
So you know, yeah. So one of the things that kind of, and this is a carryover from the first game. One of the things that is kind of the premise of this game is you're supposed to sort of go as fast as possible because like the difficulty is always increasing, and you're kind of supposed to get as many items as you can as quickly as possible, and then start like the teleporter to go to the next level, because as you go it just gets harder and harder.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like I think that this game, especially compared to Risk of Rain 1, I feel like
really manageable.
I feel like you're punished a lot less for being slower. Because
Yeah.
in the first one, like, you would get to the point where enemies were so stacked up you literally couldn't move. This one, it doesn't feel as bad because you're always able to sort of escape a little bit, depending on what's happening. And a lot of the time when you die to something, it's because you messed up, where in the first one it felt more like you could just get really unlucky, and I feel like I don't feel like I get as unlucky in this one, but I don't know. It's a harder thing to kind of tell.
Right.
Yeah.
See, I have none of these feelings about the first Risk of Rain that you guys do, but I played it so much with one person that most of these problems might have just been abolished by the fact that we were so.
I played it a lot with you, Dalsson, after you had played it a lot with your friends. So it's not like we didn't have the knowledge. It just I didn't find it as appealing. Like,
Right.
you know, it like even if you I don't know. I felt like what you're kind of saying is you had to play in a very specific way to kind of game the system so that it wouldn't, like, you would have to play in a way to take advantage of how the game worked. Whereas I feel like in this one, I don't feel like I have to do that. I can just sort of play how I feel like the game is supposed to be played. Whereas before, I didn't feel like I felt like I had to play in a very specific way that wasn't fun. So,
Right.
I don't know if your thoughts are similar, though.
I felt like I was playing the game like I was supposed to. It was just like, playing the game as I was supposed to. My biggest problem, now that I'm remembering that's what it was just I couldn't move and shoot at the same time, and that's what I like doing in video games.
Right.
Like, that was also my problem with Dark Souls. I attack a little bit too slow. I have to, like, stop all my things, but I want to, like, be hammering on the fucking joystick and smashing dudes with guns at the same time. I play Doom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't...
And that's, like, you know, just sort of a personal preference thing.
That was never a thing that ever bothered me. I also like to play like that, but I'm not so turned off by it that I can't enjoy games like that. So that's that isn't what bothered me about Risk of Rain. Like, I don't remember that, and even thinking back on it, it's like, that doesn't seem like the kind of thing that would bother me either. It's just, you know, I don't know. I didn't like how the game scaled up. Whereas this one, I feel like it scales up in a much more manageable way.
I understand that.
So, but I feel like that I don't know.
I think that part of the fun of Risk of Rain 1, and even this game, more as just a personal challenge, I guess, since the scaling is a little lighter, is just going as fast as you can. Like, you still try to get everything, but just also be very speedy about it. And you can get better and better times each time. In fact, there is a speedrun mode that you, like, compete for the high score of you know, like most games do, compete for the high score of everyone getting the same map, you know?
Yeah. Well, I always, like, the way that I approach it is to try to be time efficient, but not necessarily, you know, not necessarily have to play as fast as possible. I would rather get a majority of the items. But overall, like, I highly recommend this game.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, for certain.
I love it.
Definitely.
I feel like it works a lot better in multiplayer
the first one
as
or
well.
not.
Yeah. You know, I think that it's such a different game, kind of. Like, it seems silly to say that when the main difference is that they changed the perspective, but it really does feel like a completely different game.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
all right, well, that was Risk of Rain 2. Thanks for joining us, and remember, as always,
Stay beautiful.